Well, here we are with the guys, Hector and Sergio. We're in our second episode now. So we're going to talk a little bit about those accessibility apps and artificial intelligence, the buzzword on everybody's lips at the moment. So I suppose, Hector, first of all, the Seeing AI application that Microsoft has developed, can you just tell us a little bit more about that and what it brings to the, the whole of Office 365?
Sure. So Seeing AI is an amazing app delivered on iOS and actually created by an engineer who lives in South London called Sakib, who's blind himself. Essentially, Sakib looked at AI and thought, hang on a minute, tech can now see for me, read for me, think for me. It can do all of those things that to augment human capacity. So we literally set up a team within Microsoft to create an app that narrates the world around him. It's unbelievable. It could read the text on paper, can recognize barcodes of objects on his shelf at home. It can do face recognition and tell him who's in the room with him. But essentially, it's a great way for people to look at what AI is doing in the modern world, but around the lens of somebody who is blind or vision impaired. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we've had 5 million photos taken using the app to describe the world for people that are blind. I mean, just think of that impact, and it's all free on iOS.
Well, of course, that's very close to my heart, so great stuff. Sergio, how about the accessibility checker? I think that's an Office 365. Can you care to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, very true. So imagine when you need to prepare some documents to be shared with people, such as PowerPoint presentations or even preparing your own emails. So being conscious of who's going to be the receptors for those messages, how are you going to go about making them accessible in the first place, right? In terms of color contrast and every so on, on those kind of things. Otherwise, you just send the normal message as you would be expecting, everybody able to read, to, find, imagine sort of a rag status on a PowerPoint deck.
Yes.
How good is that?
Yeah,
it might not be so great for people with color blindness. So features built into those products would enable people to actually achieve it without much effort, which is great.
One thing I might add there as well is that the person who's receiving the email can request accessible content. So as you email them, it sort of says, this person requires inclusive content, please run the accessibility checker before you send it. So it's like a call to action to the author as well.
So it's just making the whole thing, the cogs turn with the people at the other end as well.
And it also allows somebody with a disability in the workplace to kind of put their hand up and go, hey, let's make life easier for all of us by creating a good, accessible content.
Super duper.
Yeah. Wow. Without being forceful, which is great. You can make your own decision, which is
excellent. Yeah. Super. And of course, what I've got to ask is, what's your favourite accessibility app? Hector, let's go with you first.
Do you know what? I've got to say Microsoft Translator. If we look at the quality now that you can achieve on voice to text within our Translator app, it's amazing now.
Just show me this with Bangla. Actually recording something.
But one of the beautiful things about it that people don't recognise is that you can translate English to English. Now that might sound weird, but actually getting my voice straight into captions and subtitles in a conversation on a day-to-day basis really empowers people. So the number of deaf people that I've spoken to in the community has kind of tripled. Because previously I might have worried about going and talking to somebody because I can't sign, I can't speak that language, but both of us can read. Okay, so the fact that I can speak and then have the text immediately given to somebody in live conversation has been really empowering. And I think what that does,
of course.
It means that if somebody's interpreter is not with them, they can just have this backup of this app in their pocket and just ask people to speak directly into the app, and that whole thing comes to life straight away. So I love it.
About this, don't they? We need to PR this stuff. It's fantastic.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge, and one of the things that we're really focusing on at Microsoft now is inclusive design.
Yes.
We don't want stigma to be associated with these tools. We want them to be mainstream and available. But the problem then is, how do people find the things that they want, right? So more and more that we've got great partners like Tech Quarters kind of going out and spreading the word about accessibility, I think it's going to have a huge impact on society.
That's awesome. Sergio, over to you. Favourite accessibility app?
Well, I hope you don't mind me to top up what you just said, because you kind of hijacked my favourite one, because Translator is actually amazing. And back to the point about myself being Portuguese, right? So, but imagine families and people around the UK that are married with people that have, family in other countries. So, and then they eventually get to have their own kids. How does those kids will be able to engage with their grandparents back, their families, their relatives' homes? So eventually, using technologies like this, they can interact and they can still have those relationships built in a way that still kind of work, for them. But I'll give you something else as well. So one of my key favorites, because, anytime I demonstrate that, I see people just, blowing their eyes, and, I've some key stories that will last forever around learning tools in OneNote. For people with dyslexia or even autism, facilitating the way they can read and comprehend text at a much different level. So it gets quite emotional in some cases, but that's the reality, right? People need help because we keep consuming a lot of digital content these days, and without this kind of help, people can't get over the line, and they will feel necessarily, of course, excluded. Unnecessarily excluded is what I mean.
We'll be doing a video on that app very soon, and that accessibility function.
Make sure you include Office Lens.
Yes.
Office Lens is really kind of that capture point for so much text in the world around us. So if you can scan a document and immediately have it converted into speech and read aloud with highlighting, just in the instant, that's amazing. But once you send it over the cloud, into OneNote, into Word, then actually you open up even more accessibility. So this concept of taking the analog world and pushing it into the cloud back to my PC to unlock accessibility is a subject that's really starting to land, especially in education, but more so in enterprise now. Yeah.
So exciting, isn't it, guys? Fantastic, that's pretty insane. Actually, in this episode, I think I've got one more question. I'm quite interested to know what you think we should be doing more about with helping people with disability in customers, and with the technology. What more should we be doing now?
It's a great question. I mean, it starts with you guys. I mean, it's really important that you take our message forward. There's so many customers that just need to hear that this is even a topic. But if I was to ask one thing, I would just say make it part of the purchasing process. Okay. If we think of all the reasons that we buy technology today, we want great security, we want great privacy, but we've got to have great accessibility. More and more humans with diverse requirements are using technology. Yes. And actually within the public sector, there's actually European law that says that they have to purchase accessible. They have to buy accessible content and put it in the tender. So there's a great little European standard I can recommend everybody researches. EN 301549, yeah. Have a quick search for it on Bing, take a look at it, and kind of make it part of the purchasing conversation. I really think that is an imperative on the tech industry. Awesome stuff. That was great. What a fantastic episode. I think in the next one, what we're going to do is talk about, again, the latest technology, but also Future Decoded, because we met there. And let's talk about the future.